Hello everyone, welcome back to From Concept to Code. My name is Ruth from Pixelspace, and this is our part 2 of building our revision website. Where did we leave off? We have our platform up and running. It has a wonderful light and dark mode, the most important feature, and you can see that we have these 7 different chapters available to us. And the one that I started on was scripting and storytelling. You can see that there's these 5 different study modes. Each of them has 5 different study modes, which is really helpful. And you can see there's a history tab and a bookmarks tab. So whilst I'm completing any of the questions, I can bookmark something, and I can also view the history of previous tries, basically. And so that worked really well, but there's a bug. So you can see on the history and progress, I've done 25 questions, I've taken 5 quizzes, but I have an average score of 0%. In actual fact, I did a quiz, I started it, but then I left and I came back. So it didn't really count as completing a quiz. And I didn't actually complete 25 questions. I maybe completed 1 in one of those tests and then left. So the other thing you can see is that the average score is showing as 0. So we're going to prompt Lovable. We'll use the voice mode, basically asking what we want. Hey Lovable, so I've completed maybe 1 or 2 tests, but you're showing that I've completed 5. I might have gone on to a quiz and maybe answered 1 or 2 questions, but then I've actually left and not completed the quiz. So I don't think you should count it as being completed. I think maybe we should count it as abandoned. Obviously, you've also said that I've done 25 questions, which I haven't. So I think that when we start the quiz, you should maybe save the questions as you are, but then obviously mark them as being answered once I've actually answered them as well. One other thing I noticed that you've got the average score as being 0%, which isn't true. I think I did a little bit better, so maybe you can just have a little look into that as well. So I could do this in chat mode, and that would then kind of start a conversation with me and Lovable until we kind of agree on the right step forward. Or I can just press go without chat mode turned on, and it will either still prompt me, still ask me questions and maybe how I'd like things to work. Otherwise, it will just go ahead and implement the fix because it might identify the issues or just agree with what I've said. So it'll do a little check for us. As you can see, it's going to read the database, see how things worked out. The second issue I'll then fix is the fact that when I refreshed the page, it generated me a new set of questions. Maybe that's also why it counted as an additional quiz. We'll have to see. So I see the issue. Sessions are being created as soon as the quiz loads, not when completed. I'll fix this by only creating sessions when the quiz is actually completed, and fix the stats calculations. Perfect. So it's gone straight for the fix because it's identified the issue. That works really well for us. We don't have to waste time kind of having that conversation backwards and forwards. And that also costs credits as well. So it's quite nice when it can just go ahead and make the changes for us. Now let me clean up the old abandoned session, so we'll allow that. So query delete from quiz sessions where score is 0 and time taken in seconds is null. So that's going to go and delete any rows where we might have started a quiz but we didn't actually do anything. We abandoned that quiz. Okay, so what it's done is it's actually deleted everything. So now I've done 0 quizzes. It happens. Let's see why. Again, I'm just gonna basically, as I recorded that, as I was speaking to you, I recorded that for Lovable, press send and see what Lovable has to say. Probably means I'll have to go and complete another quiz. So I'm gonna zoom through completing a quiz. I don't really mind if I get the answers right or wrong. I'm just gonna press the buttons. Okay, well, looking at that after completing the quiz, you can see now I've done 1 quiz. I have an average score of 40% and I have answered 5 questions. So that's actually correct. And we still haven't updated the homepage with the number of quizzes, so I think we just need to make sure that that value is live. And once we've done that, maybe we also just test abandoning a quiz partway through and see how that impacts the quizzes, the questions, and the score as well. Because I wouldn't mind if the average score and the number of questions answered went up or down. It might, because you've still answered them, maybe just the number of quizzes that you've completed is obviously not accurate. But we can always adapt that in the future and as we go. I'm going to leave that last prompt that we did just because when I tested running a new quiz, it actually gave us a nice score. And I'll dive straight into, we need to make sure that on the homepage, the quizzes completed, the average score, and the questions reflect what we've done, just like the history page has done as well. So I've asked that to Lovable again. I really enjoy the voice to text mode because you can literally just talk to it, and it works really well, especially if you use chat mode with it, because then you don't have to worry about it actually implementing thing. It is slightly expensive to do it that way around because each chat mode message costs 1 credit. And you'll see that some prompts that you do might only cost like 0.3, 0.4, 0.7 credits. So something costing 1 credit can be considered a bit more on the expensive side, although that's how Lovable's model used to be before they introduced agents. It is cheaper now generally, so I don't really mind spending more one way to make sure that in the future we have more of a plan in place rather than trying to just implement things really quickly without more of a solid plan in place. So our homepage now correctly reflects our stats, which is really good. So the second thing I want to fix now is the fact that when I'm actually on a quiz, if I refresh the page or if I go from that tab to another tab and then come back, we apparently lose the session state. So we need to make sure that we can maintain that session state. When I come back, we're where we were. And if, for example, I try and navigate off the page during the quiz, we should at least see a pop-up to basically say, hey, you're gonna lose your progress here. I'll let that load into the voice mode. We send it off. We're not gonna use the chat function. We're gonna let that run and hopefully we'll come out with a nice answer. Done, so quiz progress now persists across refreshes, tab switches using local storage, and an exit confirmation dialog appears when leaving mid-quiz. So this is fine. Obviously, it says that that's local storage, so we're not storing the progress of the quiz on our database, which means that if I was to leave our platform, sign out, come back on a different browser, my history wouldn't be there for that current quiz that I'm on. If I wanted to, I could save that quiz state in the database. It would be really simple to do that, so that if I wanted to resume a quiz on a different browser, then I could just come back and it would kind of show as a quiz already started. It's really up to you how you build a platform like this out. The great thing is it's a revision platform, and if you want to make it personalized to you, you can basically just ask what you want. What's your best way of learning? How do you learn best? Do you want mind maps? Do you want flashcards? I think that's one of the beautiful things with Lovable and where we're at with software development is it can be so personalized to you and you don't have to rely on someone to do that for you. You can do it all yourself. Okay, so the last thing that we're gonna fix up on the YouTube Mastery platform is the fact that when I refresh the page, it currently generates a new set of questions. So we need to make sure that when I refresh, we have the same questions. And I know that we've saved them to local storage. We probably should just store them in the database directly from the start. And then we should probably make it, as I just said, so that we can leave the page, come back and continue a quiz that we had already running for a specific chapter maybe. So maybe if on one of these chapters, if for example, there is a quiz that we already have started, where it says choose case study mode, if we have a quiz running, it can say resume or it can say start new. If we don't have one already going, then we can just leave it as it is, where you click it, it generates the questions and you get going as well. And it might be a bit too much to ask Lovable in one go, but the loading state when you're loading one of these quizzes and it's generating the questions, it would just be nicer if that was centered on the page and maybe a bit more visually appealing. So let's go and implement those changes and then hopefully we'll have a nicely working platform. It's important to test all of the flows in a platform generally. And so all of the cases where someone might leave partway through or just do things that are unexpected, it's the way that you make sure that your platform is functioning expected. Generally in large companies, they might have a QA manager or a QA tester, which is quality assurance tester, and they make sure that your platform runs as expected. They run through every little nook and cranny and try and break it and then report anything that they find back to the developers so that they can fix them. They don't have to fix everything though. Sometimes a bug doesn't necessarily have a strong impact so they can come back to it in the future. But if they find, I don't know, personal data being leaked or something like that, then that might be a critical issue that they need to report straight away. So I'll implement quiz persistence in the database as a resume functionality on chapter pages and improve the loading state. Let me first check the current chapter and quiz pages. So we've modified the database here. We're creating a new table, which is quiz in progress. We've given it some RLS, so some security, and then we've created this trigger, which is an updated at. So that's just gonna have a column at the end so that we track the time and the date for when the quiz basically last had a change. Someone last came back to that quiz. We'll let that function. The migration is complete. It's gonna edit all of the components that we need. So the choose study mode component, and that will just make it so that if there is a quiz in progress, then we can see that state on there properly. Once that's done, we'll give it a good test as well. Perfect, so quizzes now persist in a database. On the chapter page, in progress quizzes show in progress bar with resume or a new button. So let's go and attempt one of these quizzes. I'm gonna do a true or false. Generating questions, looks a little bit prettier now. As you can see then, I'm gonna exit the quiz. And I have one true or false quiz active, which I can go and resume, or if I want to, I could start new. Let's try it again. So false, false, and then exit, save and exit. You can see I have the one that's running currently. I click resume. That loads me back into the questions, really good. And then I can continue to finish the quiz. Okay, great job. So now that I've got that working, I'm just gonna click publish. If we want to connect our own custom domain, we can do that at a later point. And yep, you've just shipped, so I can go and view the site now in a new tab, which is really cool. And I can go and start my revision, share it with my friends, do whatever I wanna do with it. If you wanna learn more about Lovable, feel free to come over to our channel, have a look, watch our videos, subscribe, like, follow, whatever you wanna do. We're posting every day, long and short videos. Thank you for watching.